Ladies and gentlemen, today we're stepping into a conversation millions of Americans feel, but very few truly understand because, yes, Congress just passed a set of major Social Security changes. Yes, new information is coming out about immigration costs, Medicare scandals, and record-breaking debt. And yes, people are confused. They're frustrated, even overwhelmed. But here's the good news. Once you see the full picture, everything becomes clearer. Once you understand how these pieces interact with one another behind the scenes, you're no longer in the dark. You're informed, you're empowered, you're ahead of the curve. Most people only hear headlines. You are about to hear the full truth. This is the part that the media rushes past, the part that Congress explains very poorly, and this is the part that actually helps you to understand what's happening with your benefits, your health care, and your future. Guys, we're going to walk through the big changes that just passed, the hidden costs nobody talks about, the Medicare situation that's unfolding in the background, and most importantly, the larger budget landscape that's shaping everything going into 2026, not to scare you, but to clarify things, not to overwhelm you. You've got enough on your plate already, but to equip you, because when you understand what's really happening behind Social Security and SSI and SSDI today, you don't feel left behind. You feel prepared. And today, you're going to see exactly what most Americans never do. All I ask is that you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate the support here. All right, so let's go ahead and start with what actually passed, because this is where most Americans are out of the loop. Three very important Social Security bills just moved through the House: the Claiming Age Clarity Act, the Identity Theft Victims Act, and the Child Protection Act. Now, these might sound like some simple administrative changes. I get it. But here's the uplifting truth. These bills quietly fix real problems that have frustrated seniors for years. Clearer retirement age language means people can finally make informed decisions. A dedicated point of contact for identity theft victims means faster help, less stress, more security. And the automatic replacement Social Security numbers for affected children, well, that's pretty much future protection that most families didn't even know that they needed. Now, most Americans had no idea that these improvements were happening behind the scenes, but now you do. And understanding these reforms, it really puts you in a stronger position as the next wave of changes approaches. Now, we need to talk about the topic everyone's buzzing about. This is the proposed $200 monthly Social Security increase. Now, people want to know where it stands, why it hasn't passed, and what the holdup really is. Now, here's where clarity becomes power. The truth is, the $200 boost hasn't died. So that's very good news. It's not dead. It hasn't been rejected. It's working through budget rules, committee reviews, and negotiating layers that most people never see. Congress hasn't approved it yet, because they already know that, that they have to show where the money's going to come from. And that process, it does take a little bit of time, especially in a shifting economy. But here's the good news. By understanding how these decisions unfold, you can become one of the first few people who can actually anticipate what comes next. You're not waiting helplessly. You're actually informed. And so knowing the process positions you to benefit from the moment that anything changes. And the big policy moments often happen when people least expect them. So definitely stay tuned. Make sure your alerts are turned on for the channel. Now, here's a topic that the mainstream media barely touches, not to spark fear, but to reveal the truth. Immigration surges are creating this massive unexpected cost increase for states and federal governments. I'm talking about emergency services, temporary housing, healthcare pressure, school enrollment spikes. These expenses don't directly take Social Security money, but they absolutely do reshape the broader federal budget priorities. And once you see the connection here, guys, everything starts to click. It's not about blaming. This is about understanding the real forces that influence what lawmakers can approve, delay, or negotiate. So when billions of dollars shift toward unplanned programs, Congress becomes a lot more cautious with benefit increases. But here's the empowering part. Transparency gives you clarity. You understand the pressures that they're navigating, and then you're not confused by the headlines anymore, all right? And we've seen different headlines from CNN to MSNBC to ABC, the New York Times, but most people never get this explanation. But now you're actually going to see the landscape the way that the policymakers do. And that knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, it helps you to stay ahead and not be anxious. And a father had to call his daughter and say, honey, I need help paying this bill. And she helped, but he said that the shame was worse than the bill itself. Now, Chapter helps you to avoid that moment by revealing what your Medicare plan won't pay for before it hurts you. They strengthen your Medicare coverage so that your kids don't have to. Now, most people are already dialing the phone number down below at the bottom of your screen at 909-563-8279, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron to go ahead and get ahead of those surprises. And of course, it is a completely free service for the Ron Yates community. And I just want to share this message that truly moved me. This is probably one of the brightest updates that we've received from one of our viewers. And it says, "Aloha, Mr. Yates. I called Chapter and got to save $118 a month. Thank you so much for your advice. You made my family's Christmas and New Year extremely bright. You are the first program I listen to every day. You're a hardworking fellow. Mahalo, Ron Shinoda." Guys, messages like this really remind me why this work matters so much to me and why clarity changes lives. Now, I want to shift to one of the most misunderstood stories of 2025, the Medicare Advantage overbilling scandal. Now, some people heard the headline. Few people understood the magnitude of this thing. We're talking billions of dollars in alleged overcharges, improper coding, aggressive marketing tactics, and kickbacks investigators say distorted the entire system. And here's why this matters for you. When Medicare spends more than it should, seniors end up paying the ripple effects, usually through higher Part B premiums. But this is why some seniors feel like their COLA raise completely disappears. Drop a disappears down below if you understand what I'm saying here. But here's where the uplifting news actually comes in. Federal crackdowns, DOJ lawsuits, and congressional oversight. What this means is that the system is finally getting corrected. The waste that drained resources for years is finally being exposed and stopped. Cleaning up these leaks today strengthens the foundation for tomorrow. It's not just accountability. This is long-term protection for the benefits that Americans on Social Security rely on. Now, we need to talk about something that completely caught a lot of seniors off guard. This projected Medicare premium increase for 2026. Now, many people look at their Social Security COLA raise and they feel hopeful about it, right up until they see their Part B premium jump and wonder where the increase went. And the feeling is real. But here's where understanding the why truly empowers you. Premiums rise partly because of system-wide costs, hospital charges, fraud cleanups, and demographic shifts. But when you know this ahead of time, you don't panic, you prepare. You compare plans, you adjust early, you contact Chapter with the phone number down below on your screen right there. You make choices with clarity and not with confusion. So here's the truth, guys. Nobody is powerless here. The seniors who stay informed, who review their Medicare coverage, who watch the timing of these changes, they end up saving the most money. Knowledge is your shield. And today, we're already several steps ahead of the average American that's heading into 2026. And so now here's a truth that surprises most people, not to alarm you, but to give you perspective. For the first time in U.S. history, interest payments on the national debt have surpassed the defense budget. So this means that we're actually spending more money to service old borrowing that we are using to defend the nation. Now, here's why this matters for Social Security. Not because your benefits are disappearing, but because high debt affects how quickly new reforms can move. It shapes how Congress negotiates. It influences exactly which bills get fast-tracked and which ones get delayed. But here's the empowering part. When you understand this dynamic, you're no longer confused by the political back and forth. You can actually see the bigger picture, the financial landscape that every policymaker has to navigate. This knowledge right here, it doesn't create fear, it creates clarity. And clarity helps you to make smarter decisions for your own Social Security retirement, your savings, and your long-term planning. And so now let's go ahead and uncover something that surprises almost everyone, where Social Security dollars actually go behind the scenes. Now, most Americans imagine a simple system. Money comes in, benefits go out. But the truth is, the Social Security Administration supports a wide range of functions that are designed to protect the very people that it serves. Administrative operations, fraud prevention programs, identity security upgrades, and service improvements all come from the same ecosystem. None of this reduces your earned benefits, but it does reveal how the system stays stable, safe, and functional. So once you understand this, you see Social Security not as this mystery bureaucracy, but more of a complex engine with many different moving parts. And here's the uplifting part, guys. Every improvement Congress makes today, even the small ones, it strengthens the system that you rely on tomorrow. Clarity turns frustration into understanding. Understanding turns worry into confidence. And now you see what most Americans never do. Now, I want to build on that knowledge here by addressing a topic that almost nobody explains clearly. how immigration surges influence long-term federal budgeting, including Social Security planning. This isn't just about blame, this is about insight, guys. When immigration spikes unexpectedly, states face new costs: emergency housing, healthcare pressure, school enrollment, and law enforcement demands. These expenses don't directly touch the Social Security fund itself, but they do affect how Congress allocates federal dollars. So here's the empowering truth. Understanding these ripple effects, this can help make sense of why some Social Security proposals move quickly while other Social Security proposals stall. And it's not random. This is not personal. It's just budgeting. And so once you grasp the bigger picture, you become one of the most informed voices in the room. You start seeming like you know everything. You can see how immigration policy, economic shifts, and Social Security decisions all intersect. Knowledge connects the dots, and today you're connecting them better than most policymakers. So now I want to talk about a factor that most Americans don't even realize plays a role in Social Security's future: the Supreme Court. So right now, the court is reviewing cases related to tariff authority and certain immigration-related executive actions. And so while that might sound far removed from Social Security, the ripple effects could be enormous if the court upholds broader tariff powers. This could open new paths for federal revenue that can offset other spending, free up budget space, or even support relief measures that President Trump has floated for working families and seniors. But on the other hand, if the court narrows that authority, Congress will have to rethink how programs are funded. Either way, here's the good news. A major decision is coming, and informed Americans can position themselves ahead of the curve. Where others see uncertainty, you now see possibility, options, and some opportunity. Now, here's one of the most empowering truths about that almost nobody outside of policy circles understands: the COLA formula for Social Security. So this is the calculation that determines your annual Social Security increases or your raises, and this is based on the spending habits of younger workers, not seniors. That formula is called CPIW, and it's because younger workers spend differently than older Americans, and COLA often underestimates real senior expenses. But there's a push in Congress to shift to CPIE. This is a formula specifically built around seniors' actual costs, and that change could meaningfully raise future benefits over time. Now, most people, they don't even realize that they've been shortchanged simply because the wrong metric was used. Here's the good news. The more Americans understand this, the more pressure builds for modernization, and change becomes far more achievable. Knowledge sparks momentum, momentum sparks reform, and reform sparks better benefits for millions of retirees on Social Security in the years ahead. And so now I want to talk about leadership, because in moments like this, clarity from the top really matters. President Donald J. Trump, he's been very consistent. Social Security will be protected, it will be strengthened, and it will be modernized, not cut. Now, Trump's administration is moving or pushing to remove taxes on Social Security benefits, crack down aggressively on Medicare and identity fraud, and lower healthcare costs that drain seniors' monthly budgets. And so while Congress debates, delays, and negotiates, Trump's stance gives millions of retirees something that Washington rarely provides: direction. This is a clear outline of priorities. This is a reminder that seniors who spent decades paying into the system deserve transparency and respect, right? And so here's the good news. Knowing where President Trump stands, it helps you to navigate everything else. It cuts through the noise, it replaces uncertainty with strategy, and strategy, especially in retirement planning, this is one of the greatest advantages any American can have today, especially if you're getting Social Security. This bill is being pushed out by a coalition of Senate Democrats who are actually saying that seniors have been crushed for too long and they need immediate relief. Behind the scenes, aides admit that inflation pressure, Medicare premium spikes, and overwhelming public backlash has forced Congress to act now, of course, at the end of 2025 before things get worse. But here's what nobody is admitting openly. This bill is being rushed because lawmakers already know that the solvency crisis is getting closer. A raise is great, but the timing signals something much bigger and something far more urgent. This is happening also behind the scenes, and I'm going to share this with you before it's too late. I'll tell you that, because you need to prepare. Now, I want to talk about why Congress is scrambling like never before, because even though millions of Americans just saw the announcement of the 2.8% COLA that's coming in 2026, seniors everywhere are saying the exact same thing. It's not helping. and it's not enough. Drop a not enough down below if you agree that it's just not enough, that little itty bitty 2.8% COLA increase for 2026. And if you ask me, they're right. Food prices are up, rent is up, utilities are up, healthcare is exploding, even basic staples cost more every single month. And so as President Trump's tariffs continue reshaping the global supply chains, inflation ticked higher, creating what economists are now calling the 2026 Trump bump inside the COLA formula. Now, on paper, this all sounds good. It sounds really good on paper. A higher COLA means more money, but seniors aren't celebrating. I mean, they're kind of angry, some of them. I don't know if you're angry, if you're watching the show and you happen to be a senior, because even with the bump, the raise still isn't keeping up with real life expenses. Congress knows that the storm is hitting seniors the hardest, and the pressure to deliver immediate relief has become a breaking point. And so, look, some retirees, they don't make changes for themselves. They make them to protect the people that they love. And this is why so many of you have been calling Chapter. Chapter helps you secure your Medicare plan so that your Medicare coverage doesn't quietly turn into somebody else's problem, your spouse, your kids, your grandkids, when premiums and copays jump. Now, most people are doing what's best for their family. Most people are already dialing the phone number down below on your screen right there, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. That phone number again is 909-563-8279. And let me read to you what one viewer sent in, because this is exactly why I keep talking about Chapter on my channel. This is from Pam and Randy's Adventures. So they said, "Thank you, Ron. I called Chapter and I found out my Medicare plan, my current Medicare plan, was cutting my benefits and my copays going up in January. So the lady at Chapter showed me several plans, and I chose a plan that's actually better than my old plan. Plus, my new plan gives me $75 a month back on my Medicare Part B. Thank you, Ron, for letting us all know about Chapter and the money we can save. $75 a month is a lot of money when you're on a fixed income." Pam and Randy, I just want to thank you guys so much for sharing that information with me. Thank you for sharing that experience with me. That's the kind of real world result that helps a lot of folks who are scared to even make the first call. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, here's where everything flips, because while Congress is promising a $200 boost, the 24% cut, this is still barreling toward retirees like a freight train. Guys, 24% cut? Can anybody afford to take a 24% hit? I don't think so. And the truth is, it's getting closer and faster than anyone expected. In fact, the Social Security Board of Trustees and the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, they have both updated their projections. Without major reform, the trust fund is on pace to hit insolvency by 2032. So this means the moment that the fund runs short, federal law forces an automatic across-the-board cut of roughly 24% for every beneficiary: retirees, SSI, SSDI, widows, survivors, everyone. This is not speculation. We're not making this up. This is not some rumor. This isn't political spin. This is the law. So think about the contradiction here. Congress is dangling a $200 increase with one hand, but experts are warning of a catastrophic cut accelerating on the other. So who do you believe here? I mean, seniors aren't imagining the tension. They're standing between a raise and a cliff. And so this is where the real fear kicks in, because the $200 boost doesn't erase the insolvency crisis. In fact, if Congress passes the raise without long-term funding fixes, the 24% cut could erase the entire increase the moment that the trust fund runs out. Now, think about it. A $200 monthly boost sounds incredible, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure most people would be happy with a $200 monthly increase, right? Or a monthly boost. But a 24% reduction on an average $2,071 retirement check, that amounts to about $497 per month, which is more than double the value of the proposed increase. So this means seniors could receive the raise only to lose far more than they gain just a few years later. Now, experts are already sounding the alarm that lawmakers, they're using this short-term relief for political points while ignoring the long-term collapse that everybody already sees coming. So the big question becomes, are we being given a raise right before the system implodes? Or is this Congress finally waking up to the crisis that they've ignored for decades? All right, let's go ahead and break down exactly who this $200 increase is supposed to help, because every time Congress announces a raise, seniors start asking the same question. Does this actually include me? Anybody else wondering that out there? So according to the next bill and early community statements, the proposed increase would apply across the board to retired workers, SSI recipients, SSDI disability recipients, surviving spouses, surviving divorced spouses, widows and widowers, adult children with disabilities receiving dependent benefits, VA-connected recipients who overlap with Social Security programs. So, in other words, nearly every category of Social Security beneficiary stands to receive this $200 boost. But here's the catch. Not all of the eligibility details are finalized yet. So staffers are still refining age thresholds, survivor rules, and how the increase would apply to dual beneficiaries. So millions of seniors are left wondering, am I really getting this raise or am I not? And until final text emerges, even lawmakers can't even answer that question with certainty. So now let's talk about the other bill that just dropped, because this is getting far less coverage, yet it could be life-changing for over 1 million widows and surviving divorced spouses. So they're calling this the SWIFT Act, introduced by Senator Christian Gillibrand and backed by a coalition of senior advocacy groups. This act directly targets one of the most outdated and unfair parts of Social Security, the caps and restrictions on survivor benefits. Now, under the SWIFT Act, widowed and surviving divorced spouses with disabilities could finally receive 100% of their survivor benefits that they earned regardless of age. The bill also expands child in care benefits for parents that are caring for minor or disabled children. This is something that really hasn't been updated in decades. Now, this is not some minor tweak. This is a major modernization, and it's arriving right as millions of surviving spouses struggle with soaring living costs. And once again, the timing here is no coincidence. I think it's all political. You drop a political down below if you think it is too. But now we need to talk about the biggest flaw that's built directly into the Social Security system, the formula that determines your annual COLA increase, because experts are saying something millions of seniors have known for years. The COLA calculation is just flat out broken. So right now, the government uses the CPID, which basically tracks the spending habits of younger working Americans, not retirees. So that means COLA rises based on what commuters spend on gas, not what seniors spend on prescription drugs, what office workers are spending on clothing, not what retirees are spending for Medicare, what 30-year-olds are paying for rent, not what struggling widows are paying for heating, groceries, or utilities. So it's completely broken, if you ask me. And advocates have been saying they've been begging Congress to switch to the CPIE, which is an index that's tailored more for seniors that reflects the real increases in healthcare, housing, and medication. Now, here's the truth. If the CPIE had been used all along, seniors would have received hundreds more dollars per year, every year. Decades of underpayment, all because of a broken formula. Now, I want to dig into the 2026 COLA spike, because this is where politics and math collide. Economists are calling this the Trump bump, and here's why. President Trump's 2025 through 2026 tariff adjustments triggered a slight but measurable uptick in inflation across some key categories that are being tracked by Social Security's COLA formula. And so while rising prices normally hurt seniors, there's a twist. Higher inflation equals a higher COLA. So the 2.8% COLA that's coming in January 2026 didn't happen by accident. It's partly the result of tariff pressure echoing through the supply chain. So now it sounds like a win, but here's the problem. Temporary spikes in inflation boost COLA once, but the higher prices remain forever. So while seniors are seeing a little bit of a bump in their COLA, in their Social Security paychecks as of January, the cost of living rises permanently. So this is why economists warn that the Trump bump COLA is a short-term boost sitting on top of a long-term affordability crisis. Now, we need to talk about the hidden danger that's lurking behind every Social Security raise, which is Medicare. And again, if you guys haven't called Chapter, hit the link in the description down below to see if they can lower your Medicare expenses for free for the Ron Yates community. Because while Congress is out here promising a $200 boost and the 2026 COLA is set to hit 2.8%, Medicare Part B just announced its own surprise, and it's not the good kind. So Part B premiums for 2026, they're jumping nearly 10%, one of the steepest increases in recent years. And for millions of seniors, that single premium hike, this could wipe out half or even all of their COLA increase before they ever see a dime of it. Now think about that. Congress hands seniors a raise and Medicare quietly takes it right back. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Has anyone seen the COLA hit their bank account? It increases their check, but yet Medicare quietly steals it away from them. Has anyone seen that? Drop a Medicare down below if you've seen that. Now, deductibles are rising, out-of-pocket costs are rising, prescription prices are rising, and seniors are being forced to stretch every dollar thinner and thinner while inflation hits them from all sides. And it just isn't fair. But this is the part that nobody in Washington likes to talk about. A raise means nothing if your healthcare eats it alive. Am I right or am I right? And so if you're feeling confused about what your actual check is going to look like in 2026, you're not alone, because right now, in real time, millions of Social Security beneficiaries are receiving their official benefit notices in the mail. Drop a yes if you've gotten one of these letters in the mail so far. These letters arriving all through December spell out your exact 2026 payment, your COLA increase, your Medicare Part B deduction, any withholding, and of course your final monthly benefit. Now, here's the nerve-wracking part, okay, guys? Many seniors, they won't even know whether their raise survives the Medicare premium increase until the letter arrives. How's that for nice, right? So some are going to see a small bump, others will see a bigger bump, and some, shockingly, will see their increase vanish completely. And yes, those with My Security online accounts may have seen a preview earlier, but the official numbers land this month. So I'm just saying. So when the envelope hits your mailbox, your 2026 reality becomes official. Now, I want to zoom out just for a second, because behind the $200 raise, behind the COLA spikes, behind the insolvency clock, there's a political war that's erupting in Washington. Now, on the one side, you have Senate Democrats pushing these aggressive expansions, a $200 boost, the CPIE reform, the SWIFT Act, senior benefit increases, pretty much everything that's designed to show seniors that they're really fighting for bigger checks right now. On the other side, President Donald J. Trump, who has repeatedly promised he will never cut Social Security, is dealing with a completely different battlefield. His tariffs contributed to the bigger COLA bump. Yes, that was very, very good for COLA increases. In fact, if it weren't for the tariff increases, we would have had a much smaller COLA increase. So in other words, Social Security checks would have been smaller. However, they also elevated pressure on Congress to stabilize long-term funding before the insolvency window closes. So Democrats are pushing raises, Trump is pushing for protections, but the trust fund is pushing urgency. So you got two visions, two strategies, one program that 75 million Americans are depending on. And I don't know if you're 62 years old or 82 years old, but this political tug of war is going to shape the next decade for your retirement. So here's where everything pretty much comes together. The moment that matters the most is here, because after all the headlines, all the promises, all the warnings, the truth is brutally simple. A $200 boost is on the table. Yes, that is the good news. A 24% cut is still coming. And so now let's go ahead and bring everything together. The new bills that passed, the immigration pressures, the Medicare reforms, the fraud crackdowns, the debt conversation, and the benefit debates. Individually, these stories, they can feel overwhelming, but together they form something that's far more important, a moment of opportunity. Because once you see the full landscape, the full forces shaping Social Security, you're not confused anymore. You're not waiting for headlines. You're understanding how decisions are made, where delays come from, and what signals matter the most. This is the uplifting truth that almost nobody hears. When the system changes, informed people rise. Informed seniors can plan better. Informed retirees can protect more of what they've earned. In 2026 is shaping up to be one of the most important years for Social Security reform in decades. And now you're entering that moment with clarity, confidence, and a sharper understanding than most policymakers. Hit the like button and subscribe for more updates. We'll see you next time.